Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Thursday, February 15th Arts and Culture Commission meeting. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Derhovanesian.
Here.
Sharikian.
Yes.
Vice Chair Vidor.
Here.
Chairperson Sahakian.
Here.
For the record, Commissioner Oshigan is not present. The agenda for the February 15th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on February 12th, 2018.
Next item, please.
Item 2, consent items at 2A. Approval of regular meeting minutes from January 18th, 2018.
Great. Any questions?
Motion
changes?
to approve.
Second.
Great. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Derhovanesian.
Yes.
Sharikian.
Yes.
Vice Chair Vidor.
Yes.
Chairperson Sahakian.
Yes.
Item 2B, approval of special meeting minutes from February 1st, 2018.
I have a question regarding this meeting. It was about an hour meeting, and I didn't see any video or anybody recording the meeting itself. Has anybody taken notes other than Barbara or her staff?
Yeah. Commissioner Sharikian, fellow commissioners, Director of Libraries, Cindy Cleary, took notes. Okay, she didn't take notes.
Okay.
I took notes at the council
Oh, that was
meeting,
the other
but
meeting, sorry.
the public meeting, the notes were taken by people from CARS, from
Okay.
Community Art Resources.
Okay, so this is Barbara's team.
Barbara's people, they took notes, and then they also collected all the questions that were asked. So whatever Barbara talked about, they have all that information also.
And they have taken pictures too, so if need be, you could put all of them together for the TV.
Any other comments, questions?
No, it was a fantastic meeting, very productive as usual. It was a large audience coming. I was very proud to see that. Community is very interested with what we do. Good questions were asked. It shows that people are reading, they go through the webs, and they have an idea of what's going on in the city. And some were very flamboyant, some were very practical, but nonetheless, that's what actually our commission wants to hear. And so would the CARS group, because they need to plan whatever they do based on everything that goes on in the community. So it was a wonderful night, and it was a beautiful reception as well. So job well done to all the people who were there.
Is that a motion?
I make a motion, yeah.
No,
I make a
any
motion.
comments on that, that's it. But I wish we could do much more of that in the future.
I make the motion
Great.
to approve the meetings.
Do we have a second?
Second. Good.
Roll call, please.
Commissioners Derhovanesian.
Yes.
Sharikian.
Yes.
Vice Chair Vidor.
Yes.
Chairperson Sahakian.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 3, introductions and presentations at 3A, Library Arts and Culture events presented by Chuck White, Community Relations Manager.
Good afternoon, commissioners, staff, and guests. Here are a number of great events coming up at the library. I will start off, however, with some information about 2 programs, the Beyond the Box Utility Box murals. Call for Artists closed on February 13th. The next painting will be March 16th through 18th. I can report that we had over 100 entries. And we tried a couple of different devices to get different artists, and we did get different artists, as well as a few that were some of the regulars. So it was good. So you will, I believe next week, the selection committee will review those, and then they'll paint in March. The Brand Library Summer Plaza Series, that just went out. The applications are due March 15. As you recall, this is another Arts and Culture Commission sponsored event at Brand Library, outdoors on the plaza. You can see we can put about 100 seats right there in front, and that is, they're always full, regardless of the type of music, the style of music, how hot it is out there. However, there's more to it than that. So here's one of the bands, a smaller group, 4-piece, and the audience truthfully extends all over the park. That's looking south towards Glen Oaks. There's people out there, but there are people in the parking lots, across the alleys, and you can hear the music everywhere. So it's been a good series of programs. Again, we're looking for more performers, and those applications are due March 15th. Invisible, negotiating the U.S.-Mexico border. This has been a real successful installation at Reflect Space, the art gallery at the Central Library, curated by Ara and Anahid Oshigan. There are 2 author events coming up. T.C. Boyle, noted USC professor and very well-known writer, is going to speak about his novel, The Tortilla Curtain, and that is also the One Book, One Glendale 2018 reading event book. That's next Wednesday, February 21 at 7 p.m. at our downtown Central Library. The following week, on February 28th, Tim DeRoche and Daniel Gonzalez will present their book, The Ballad of Huck and Miguel, a retelling of Huck Finn in kind of a graphic novel version. And again, both those books pertain in many ways to the installation Invisible. Here's the work of an artist named Tom Kiefer. And his thought was that the undocumented immigrants are physically absent. Only remnants of their journeys across the border exist. So his project, El Sueño Americano, the American Dream, consists of photographs of thousands of non-essential, potentially lethal objects, is his information here, confiscated by U.S. Customs from migrants crossing the border or attempting to cross the U.S.-Mexico border. These are disposable razors, pink combs and hair products, yellow ducks, and bars of soap. So you will be able to hear Tom Kiefer talk about his work on the United States-Mexico border at the closing reception for Invisible, and that's on Tuesday, March 13th at our downtown Central Library in the Reflect Space. Here's something I thought you'd be interested in. The Society, let me get their name right, the Society for, I don't want to mess their name up, it's super long. Society for Architectural Historians, Southern California chapter. Thank you. They're going, every now and again, they use our auditorium and put on a program. They're bringing Adam Aronson. Adam Aronson is a scholar from back east, but he grew up here in Southern California in the San Diego area. And he has done just a lot of work on United States history. But one of his little pet topics is Millard Sheets and the Millard Sheets Design Group. His book is Banking on Beauty, Millard Sheets and Mid-Century Commercial Architecture in California. He'll be at the Central Library on Sunday, February 25 at 2 p.m. That's a picture of a home savings bank, one of the 40-some home savings banks in Southern California, and those were all designed by the Millard Sheets design firm. So his book is very specific to Sheets' work with Home Savings Bank. There are some curious connections to Glendale, if I may. There's a Bob's Big Boy in Burbank, Googie icon, designed by Wayne McAllister. It's a historic landmark, but one of Sheets's architects was a schoolmate at, I guess, Glendale High School of Bob Wyan, who originated the Bob's Big Boys. So Millard Sheets, interestingly, his company has a number of Bob's Big Boys that were built around Southern California and Phoenix. The other architect is S. David Underwood. It was just fascinating to see that connection so directly to Glendale. So we're looking forward to this. I think it'll be a well-received program, again, at the end of February. Here we have two filmmakers, John McDonald on the left, Huell Hauser on the right. John McDonald worked on a documentary called The Ghost Mountain Experiment. It was a story about a family who lived, as we like to say, off the grid for 17 years in the Anza Borrego Desert. He thought it would make a great documentary, and he actually pitched it to Huell Hauser. Huell thought it would make a great California's Gold program, and so he worked with McDonald. They put an opening and a closing on it, and unfortunately, Huell Hauser became ill and passed away, but he gave the film to, or the opening and closing credits sections to Mr. McDonald. And Mr. McDonald is going to come and show his, what he calls the Lost California Gold episode at the Downtown Central Library on March 7th. And we, just because we've attached Huell Hauser's name to that, we've had some really good feedback. I think that'll be a good program. One of our staff is working with Armenian Outreach. There's a literary magazine called Pakin, if I'm pronouncing it right. There's going to be a talk from the business people who run that magazine Thursday, March 8th at the Downtown Central Library. It's a literary magazine in Armenian. Local author Ivan Obolensky is going to talk about his novel Eye of the Moon, Wednesday, March 28th. Joffrey Mark, a musician, comedian. He does a lot of things, but he's also written a really outstanding biography of Ella Fitzgerald. He's coming to the Downtown Library on March 29th. Our garden variety show up at Brand Library will close on March 14th, so there's still time to go view that. This group here is a Vocalese jazz group. So they have, they sing. They sing whatever comes to mind. You can give them a suggestion and they will work with it. They are one of the groups that's going to perform on March 17th at the Outdoor Plaza, what they call the Central Park Plaza, right next to the Museum of Neon Art. And that, again, is one of your programs, our 222 East outdoor performances. So we have that group. We have a gentleman named Mike the Poet, who fills in for about an hour. And then another vocal group, Krista Stevens and Marco Lozano. They are opera singers, and they are fantastic. Marco spends quite a bit of his working time in Europe, but they're both in town for that event. And it will also include not just these performances, but the backdoor bookstore from the Friends of the Library. They will sell books. They've had very good success. It's been a good melding of programs. On that particular day, March 17th, the Museum of Neon Art, again, is partnering with the Friends of the Library, and they're going to bring back some noir films. This one will be Robert Mitchum in Where Danger Lives from 1950. Again, all that's happening on Saturday, March 17th, so it's Downtown Central Library is a fun place to be that day. So, with that, if you have any questions.
Any information on the music series, which starts March 3rd with the brand?
No, it is starting March 3rd. He's already had one performance, I think, in February, but there's a good slew of musicians and performers. That is, again, different than, say, either the Plaza series or the 222. Right. The Recital Hall series is very much a symphonic or chamber music series, and we're very happy with that series. It continues. Funded, I do believe, by the Brand Associates.
5 scheduled?
Thank you, Chuck. This is great for this whole city. I just want to add a couple of comments regarding that Pakin that you mentioned. It's a literature magazine published by Armenian Culture Foundation, Armenian Culture Association, Hamaskain, which they have many branches in California, and they have their headquarters down the street from here on Colorado Boulevard. Pakin has been published in the past at least 40 years, and it's not just a literature magazine, but it's also on the high end, very intellectual type of magazine, which is very honored to be coming to Glendale and presenting Pakin. I'll be there for sure, and I hope I'll see you too. Thank you.
Any additional comments? Thank you for the update, Chuck. Oh, sorry, Cindy.
I did want to give a plug to the Brand Associates and the music series. So there are some concerts coming up. February 24th, a trio entitled Trio Import. And then on March 3rd at 2 o'clock, these are all at 2 o'clock, Helix Collective. And on March 24th, Chica and Nue, also at 2 o'clock. And the whole series, the music series sponsored by the Associates, is a collection of incredibly talented musicians and in chamber music in the Brand Recital Hall. Thank you.
Okay, great. As the days go on, my peripheral vision will probably improve in this. Great, I think we're ready for next item.
Item 4, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not on this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The commission may refer the matter to city staff for investigation and report.
Great, and we have one card on a agenda item coming up, but none for oral communications. So next item.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5A1, selection of Glendale winner of Bob Hope Airport Tower banner competition.
Chair Sahaki and Commissioners, city staff, guests. The Bob Hope Airport Authority, once again, and the Glendale Unified School District, as I said, once again, respectfully request that the commission review and select the best qualified artwork for the 2018 Tower Banner Competition. So each year since 2007, the Bob Hope Airport Authority has invited all Burbank, Glendale, and Pasadena Unified School District high school students, that's grades 9 through 12, to enter the contest. This year, each school district presented to the Bob Hope Airport its top 3 entries that best depict the theme, Take Off to a New Beginning. The Arts and Culture Commission from each respective city is asked to consider the 3 entries and make a final selection of 1 entry from its school district based on the judging criteria and the contest rules and regulations. And so now I ask the commission to select, or well, actually to give me your scores, and we will notate them. We are calling the artwork entries A, B, and C. And again, we asked you to do a little bit of homework on your own and bring it back here as individuals. So,
Great, and did we want to invite up?
Do we select first?
why don't you give me the numbers, and then we can add them up and then call up the guests.
Great, so first as an intro, first I want to congratulate all 3 students for being finalists. It's a lot of submissions, so that's already a big accomplishment. But as a school board member, I prefer not to be choosing between our students, so I'll abstain on this item and I'll let my colleagues do the voting, since we have enough to move the item forward. So I'll open it up to if the commissioners want to share their scores.
Do we have to announce the scores? Usually we don't do that. Do we?
Just numbers. Just tell me A, B, C.
And aren't we going to have the actual paintings here?
I can pull it up on the web. Did you bring
Because
it?
every year, that's what we do. They have it in display.
Very
and
good, very good.
Audience can see it as well, our TV audience. And then we have a little presentation from the staff. And then we go through the process.
All right, well, perhaps we can call up the school district representatives to bring up some artwork and.
Good afternoon. Felix Melendez, Executive Director, Secondary Education, Glendale Unified School District. And one of my best days was walking up to my office at the end of the day and having a room full of art. And I took pictures and sent them to my wife on my way home. And I shared the photos because it was a great day for me to go from office work and paperwork and other things to art. So it's a pleasure to have two of the three students. Their teacher is here as well, Mr. Nye. But he looks like a student. I asked him if he started. He said he's been teaching for 10 years at Crescenta Valley. I asked him if he started when he was 11 because he is very youthful. But the talent pool is very deep. It runs deep in this community, from the hills to downtown, and it's a testament to the city to continue the work that you do. That's a great testament to what Glendale stands for as a community. But I'm going to let the students and the teacher introduce themselves and show off their works and their wares and tell you a little bit about their art. Thank you.
Hello.
Hold it up so the camera can catch it.
So I'm actually one of the art teacher at Crescenta Valley High School, and my name is Ricky Nye. And unfortunately, this student is not here today because she's sick, so she's at home resting. So I'm here representing her with this art piece. I could talk a little bit about this piece for her. I know when I saw her starting doing this, the theme is take off to new beginning. So I did is I have students brainstorm what is new beginning means to you. You know, it doesn't have to be, it could be starting a new life, could be starting for example, here it's almost like the person is starting a sketch of a plane, building a plane, and I believe this is actually a female person that's starting to sketching out the mechanics of it or the engineer part of it, and the top part is turning into an airplane. So I think her concept idea was that's how the beginning start, to take it off to a new beginning. So I think it was nicely done. It's done in acrylics, monochromatic in terms of color tone, just to focus mostly on the line quality and then the perspective going into the space in the background. So that's it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Then I have Subin here, which is another student.
Hello, I'm Subin. I'm in grade 11, and I had a lot of fun with this project. I played on the idea that a butterfly would emerge from a cocoon after it's born from an egg. I've always liked the thought of seeing light after emerging from darkness, so I added sunshine. And I also thought about how dandelion starts off from being golden and turns into a white, fluffy flower. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm Alice, and I'm also in 11th grade. So I came to California from Korea when I was around 7 years old. So I drew this to represent like the new life and like the new experiences that I hope to have and like looked forward to when moving to America. And so I kind of like pictured myself when I was younger and just drew that.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you.
Great. Well, I'm glad I'm off the hook. So why don't we proceed to share our scores, and if you have any additional comments as well.
I can say that I was able to collect those scores,
Great.
and we tallied them, and in a very, very narrow margin, entry number A was chosen. Congratulations.
Great. congratulations to our students. Do any commissioners want to add?
And then don't we go for number 1, number 2, and number 3? Who's first, second, and third?
We can. Sure, we can. Entry number B was number 2. Entry number C was number 3.
Taking comments?
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank all of you, Mr. Nye and students for coming, and Mr. Melendez. It's really great to see you here. I hope we see more of you in the future. And I was just delighted and amazed at how unique your 3 visions were. You know, I think that your piece, the winning piece, so to speak, is lovely. You really took a very graphic design approach to making sure that the message was going to be very clear from, you know, this is going to be a big thing that people are going to see from the distance, and the fact that you incorporated the thematic verbiage in there, I think, was nice too. And your point of view of being on the plane and moving into a new life was also nice. I could make similar comments about the other pieces too, that they each represented a very unique vision with your own very personal interpretation of taking off into a new beginning. So, you know, 3 outstanding works of art. And, you know, I guess in the art world, there's always competition. It's like show business, really. And, you know, I guess it's great to get exposed to that as early as possible because especially as I assume maybe some of you are going to become artists or you're aspiring professionals. So we're glad we were able to give you this opportunity and look forward to seeing more of your work in the future.
Okay. Well, I would like to congratulate all of you because you guys have made to the top 3. That is major. As my colleague said, it's beautiful. Each one of them expresses who you are and your perspective on life is very interesting. One is very mathematical and scientific. The other one is very kind of feelings and emotions of an immigrant and how one kind of enters into the world through a plane. And the other one was so romantic and poetic with the butterflies and flowers. It was gorgeous. The sea actually touched my heart a lot because I'm very much tutti-frutti with flowers and birds and whatever. Each one was gorgeous. Some of them, actually, basically, I think number A was kind of more for a tower to expose it in a larger perspective. So the scores given is not on the value of the art itself, it is the combination of everything because some of them might not be exposed so well on a tower and some of them might be a little bit kind of need more explanation, but each one of them is gorgeous work. I wish I had them on my wall in my house because they're fantastic. So congratulations to all of you. You did a fantastic job, and each one really touched my heart. It was very hard for me. I scored once at night, then in the morning I did it again. It was different, so it changed because each time I looked at it, it was a different perspective on all of them. So to me, all are equally the best. But based on the criteria, I think this is how we could modify it to first, second, third. So congratulations to all of you. Good job.
Well, I would like to say thank you for coming, number one, and the teacher too. This has been going on for the past few years, and I've been here sitting and selecting few artworks, and the quality of the artworks has been risen every year, and then this one that I've seen, it's a lot more detailed and a lot more to the point of the theme. Take these artworks as a jumping board for your career. You guys did an excellent job, and you were within top 3 of the maybe hundreds of students. And this is a start for you, a new start, as it says, take off to a new beginning as your art career. Let the art be in your heart. Let it be a creative, not only in your career, but also for the Glendale. As you probably heard, we have a master plan coming up. We would like to hear from you, from your teachers, from your community to be involved in that master plan. We are looking for new generation to come up, to take our places, to take the future of our visions. Hopefully you guys can make it down successfully. And finally, I would like to thank the teachers that they take the time and teach you the value of the art. It's not just the painting or dancing or creating, but the thought about how to think about art. That's very valuable for us. And that's why we are called Arts and Culture Commission. We have a master plan that we're working, and that's what we're focusing on. We want to make sure we can reach out every student, every community member, resident, to hear from them and to involve in this community. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Melendez. Thank you, Mr. Nye, and please do take back to all of our arts teachers. We do greatly appreciate the support, and we see it in the students' work, and we definitely see that you push them to the next level, and all the artwork was so great. And congratulations to all of our students, because to be part of the 3 finalists is a huge honor, and it just shows how talented you are, and so we hope you'll continue and stay involved with the commission as well. As Commissioner Shrikin mentioned, there's a lot of arts opportunities that we have, and we'd love to see more students apply for them. So just congratulations to all of you, and thank you very much for being here.
Good job.
Chair Sahakian, if I may, Commissioners, city staff, the winning artwork will be translated into a large 17 by 26-foot banner. And that's going to be displayed at the airport terminal tower for 3 months. And probably over 1 million people will see that.
Good. Can we take a picture with them if it's
Yes.
possible? This is something. All right. We walk down.
Yes, absolutely.
Cindy. Cindy. Let's see what Cindy wants to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Paper, yeah, I know, I got some by.
They
I
need
said
to know
free,
that's it free,
I
yeah.
know, it's the last.
And you know what's nice about this, there's only one with writing on it, pinky in the middle. There are 2 with writing on it.
I know we're talking about it, but this procedure.
So,
Yeah, we need to put it in the library for maybe a few weeks. Exhibition, and then let us see all the
amongst ourselves, we can. Protocol there, but that was nice. That was a good idea. I have a question, though, that I'd love to ask.
So while we have you guys, Commissioner Vidor does have a question.
My question was, did you, the artists, did you have the rubric that we used? Have you seen it? Do you know how we evaluated you and what the evaluation criteria were?
Gian.
Oh. So I just wanted to ask, perhaps, I'm going to give a very informal update on discussions we've been having at the Brand Library about this ongoing discussion that's been going on about having a student art show. And maybe if you have time, maybe you could stay for it. It's going to be at the end of the meeting, unfortunately. If you can't, then I'd be happy to send you some information. And Ricky, I know you know about it because you're involved, but and I know that Mr. Melendez is, if he isn't already, he's about to be involved. So, okay, that's great.
And we have the rerun of this presentation as well, so
Yes,
students also
that's
can
right.
watch it again.
And I did ask a question while you were busy, Chuck. Did the artists and the teachers, did they get to see what the rubric was, the evaluation criteria?
Commissioner Vidor, commissioners, we do not handle the rubric. That comes from the school district.
Oh,
and
that
the-
is,
and the Bob
okay,
Hope Airport.
okay. So that is generated
it's
by the school
generated,
district?
it's
Okay,
their
I didn't
contest,
realize that.
yeah.
Okay, good.
I just want to say, I did get a copy of the rubrics
Okay.
last year.
Okay.
And I
Great.
did look at it and see what the criteria are.
Okay. I just wondered where that came from and how, how it flowed around. Okay. Thanks.
It has it all.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all again. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And then before you go, Alice Beck. Sure, yeah. Yeah, Alice, that was our number one. Jian Chung, that was the one that was absent, and Subin Yeong.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 5A2, Public Art Master Plan, Cars - Goldstein Report.
Chair Sahakian, commissioners, city staff, visitors. In November of 2015, the Glendale City Council approved the 2015-17 work plan of the Arts and Culture Commission and appropriated $380,000 to accomplish activities detailed in the work plan. That included a creation of a public art master plan. Community Arts Resources, Barbara Goldstein and Associates, held its first community engagement exercise on June 11th, 2017. They've conducted a number of one-on-one interviews with the City of Glendale executives, City Council, and various stakeholders. An interactive pop-up public workshop was held in October. And finally, just recently, Commission reviewed the draft Public Art Master Plan at its December 21, 2017 regular meeting. Barbara Goldstein presented the executive summary to City Council at a special council meeting on January 30th, 2018, at which time City Council provided feedback. A special meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission was held at the Downtown Central Library on February 1st, where Barbara Goldstein again presented the executive summary to over 70 people in attendance. The final advisory committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 26 at 6 p.m. at our Downtown Central Library. This meeting will give the advisory team the opportunity to review the Public Art Master Plan progress in the context of the input received last week from Commission members, City Council, and from the public. That's my report.
Great, so before we get into comments, we do have one card, so I'd like to welcome up Nora Voskerchian, who I believe was in attendance at the public art meeting. Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. To tell you, I mean, I wasn't realizing that I was going to make a formal presentation, but I'm not a Glendale resident. I'm an architect who was just interested in the program, the master planning that you started with Barbara Goldstein, that I thought was great, having the vision and having the vision of asking to have a master plan done for the city of Glendale. So I'm just interested in how a master plan uses the streets and the leftover spaces to bring communities together and make them a part of their daily life. And so I heard Barbara Goldstein, and it was very inspiring what she was suggesting. And it brought an idea to my mind, something that I experienced when I was abroad. It was in London. And there is this place called the Serpentine Gallery Pavilion, which is a temporary pavilion that they do every year. And it is a location where those temporary structures, pavilions, are built, and they stay there from June till I think November. I'm not sure. It's a few months, and it's open to the public. It's in a park, and people just go and visit. And the way those pavilions are commissioned is truly, I think the way it works is architects and artists. It's open to architects and artists, and I think, I'm not sure exactly, but they present something, and the commission picks one person that year. So along the years, many famous architects and artists have been going through that, and through the making of the pavilion. So some of them, and this is really the site of that. Okay. So these are, each one is an individual. How do I do? Yeah. So each one is a different year, and each one is made by a different architect. And it has been more than 10 years that they've been doing it. Zaha Hadid did it, and many other famous architects did it. But it has become really a major happening in the city, and it is a destination and an attraction. And I thought, after hearing what Barbara was proposing, I thought something, maybe not to this, it depends on the site, but something in the same spirit can happen. And one of the sites that I was thinking of, but of course you know Glendale better than I do, is there is the site of the museum. Since this is just a temporary structure, it can happen there till when the museum is built. It's an open space left open right next to the library. And, you know, it's not a permanent building. They construct it and then they take it apart. And it's really a part of the people's lives. I mean, you go through it, you experience it. Some of them you can sit and spend time. Some of them you just experience as an art experience. So I thought it was an interesting feature to have. And it can be open to the entire Los Angeles or even the nation or the state-wise. So it's really, I mean, the Brand Library Park is also nice. So that was my presentation, basically.
Thank you for joining us, Nora. We really appreciate your time and engagement, because we do need as much feedback from the community as possible. So we, commissioners can't make comments, but under this format, we're not going to be able to engage back and forth in dialogue, but we thank you for your time. But if commissioners wanted to make comments.
On the day that we had our presentation, there was another idea you presented, which I thought I might share, was that to have a creative hat day, that the community would be a special day. One of the streets would be kind of locked, hat day, that people would wear creative hats, and whoever in the community. So people throughout the year, they can spend time to make a creative, funny, or interesting hat and have a hat day. I thought that's not a bad idea. It's a small project, and it could be engaging every individual in the community who likes to be creative. So I thought to share it because I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I think, I love that. I mean, I'm really passionate about that idea too, because it, as you said, it brings the whole family and the whole community, and it's once a year. They know everybody it's that year, and they get ready for that big hat. Small grandparents, families, women, men. So those are the two ideas.
Yeah, I assume that since you were at the meeting, your contact information and is available, and you're on some kind of a sign-in sheet so that we know who you are. And I really appreciate you coming because, Glendale has grown over the years, and it's a large metropolitan area, and, it's a world-class city, and having somebody like you with your experience come here to talk to us, it really makes me feel good because, I think we deserve to have the best of the best in art and not put any limitations on ourselves. And so it's just nice that you've engaged with us, and I hope you will stay, in touch and retain your interest in what's happening here.
No, thank you very much, truly. I always think that Glendale is a special place. It's really one of the few communities that you find where people live, work, entertain themselves, do their shopping, do their daily activities within the same place, which is the whole idea of having a city. It's not a destination as of you. I mean, it is becoming, but it's not this artificial destination gathering. It's really the people living in it. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Nora.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. So going back to Chuck's report, thank you for that report and update, Chuck. Were there any questions, comments?
Well, I read through it and I had some comments, but I think it might be getting into the weeds too much to do it. Maybe would be more appropriate to submit comments to Barbara. Is that the way this works, or do we talk about specifics?
Well, I think if we had questions, maybe get them all to staff, and then that way staff could work with Barbara. But
Okay.
if there are anything you want to call out now, you're more than welcome to.
No, I thought it was really comprehensive, and obviously there are some things, something that comes to mind is the Beyond the Box program that are easy to implement right away, where you're kind of taking a more neighborhoody approach and trying to reach for a theme geographically. That's not something we probably need to get extra staff for. It's part of an existing program, so maybe we could, in this draft plan, identify those types of things, things that would be fairly straightforward to implement without having to wait. Just a thought there. And, many of these items, one thinks, how are we going to implement this? It's a great idea, but how's it going to happen? So I think we should also separate out things that definitely would need additional staffing to implement, and something like on number 2 under policy recommendations, where it says designate new funding sources. I think really, not to be too precious about it, but really we have to seek out new funding sources, which is a very labor-intensive thing. So designating makes it sound like, oh, okay, we're just going to identify so-and-so and so-and-so to be our alternative sources of funds, but this is a huge task. So the language that's used to describe it, I think, needs to be a little bit more action-oriented, like, seeking and identifying funding sources. It's a big job, and there are a number of bullet points in here that are big jobs. So, it's like our eyes are very big, and I hope that we can, set ourselves up in a way that we can succeed at all of this. So I will get my comments to you. There's too many to go over here.
To just pigtail on the same idea, like for finding sources, I remember that Glendale Unified School District had hired a person who was a grant writer. That was the specific job, annually paid. The person was there, training staff as well, and also seeking people who are known all over United States for being able to get grants, desirable grants, and they get kind of a percentage, a commission on when they get it done. But it's a real job to get different sources of funding, because we cannot depend only, because eventually the buildings and things in the city of Glendale would be saturated, the market. So we need to find the sources, and we need to have staff to be able to do that who are specifically trained on that. And also to seek all the people throughout the United States who are known for federal and state different fundings that comes for the specific work that we want. And that is major if we want to make sure that our plan, our master plan would continue, and there would be a long-term venue of money coming in if we secure the system that the money is going to be kind of funded here. So that is a major. I agree with you completely, and it is a very trained, specific skill that people who are being hired to be able to do it. If they don't want to hire, they could commission people who come and do that, but they are known throughout the United States. I'm not talking about little people, but people who, if they get several $1 million grants for specific things, so they get their commission on that, and they're known to be very successful too. So hopefully, as you know, with the Tutcom, certain things would be a little bit more identified and clarified, so we would secure a success for the master plan and the longevity for the master plan that we have.
All right, Commissioner Shirky.
So we are discussing item number 2, Public Art Master Plan?
Yes.
Okay. Just to clarify, it seemed like Barbara has presented a document to the City Council meeting, and the City Council made some suggestions, and I think there is still work needs to be done on Barbara's side to summarize and collect all the information and put it together. This is, in my opinion, it's a phase 1. Then, I'm assuming there is another meeting coming up February 26th at 6 p.m., the advisory committee. That advisory committee will come up with more ideas, I'm assuming, or more discussion, and put it together. And finally, we will receive it one more time, and we will help to put a final stamp on it before going back to the City Council. Am I right in this procedure approach?
Commissioner Shrakian, Shrikian, sorry. Yes, she's very eagerly working on the draft plan. What she presented to council and to the public meeting was an executive summary of the status of where we are. So now she's taking all that input and she's putting together an actual draft master plan that she wants to present to you, hopefully in March. But you know, we'll give her a little leeway because she has gathered a lot of input from just the groups that she's met with in the co-urbanized site. And once you have the opportunity to review it one last time and you know, decide that you want to push it on to City Council, then we'll bring it to City Council in May or June.
Yes, my recommendation is before the presentation at our meeting, if the commission would like to see this final draft, we need at least probably a few weeks, in my opinion, to go over the details, to help to put it together and help Barbara for the sake of the community. I don't want to sit down here within half an hour and say yes or no. I would like to take my time. I mean, this is a serious issue, as my colleagues agrees on this, that we are somehow presenting a master plan for the next 5 to 10 years. And as a commissioner, I would like to take the responsibility, take my time and study each point, how we're going to approach and what's the terms are, some of the details that we're going to go through. And then finally, when we submit this to the City Council, through Barbara, of course, then if there are changes, I would like to see that process before going to the City Council.
And that's one of the reasons why I said March or April, because she does want to let you have some time with the draft before we come to the public meeting.
Sounds great. Okay.
So you would like at least 2 weeks? our
because
bet,
it's
right?
a huge step.
So I'll
And
let her
I
know.
would like to take time because some of the things, not just the language, is the approach, is the techniques, is the community involvement, is the organizations from different type of organization involvement. So there are many elements involved in this. And we are trying to make a change, but we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. In my opinion, I don't want to get, I mean, at least we're helping the community, and this is going to be a community event. It's not just us or the city council. No, it's a community, and everybody has to be on the same page. All right.
Great. And I had a question kind of along the same lines about timeline, because I think between the committee, between our commission, between council, each of us may have different ideas, feedback, and that may need to go through a few rounds. But I think as we're kind of getting closer, more of a request, because I know it's a little bit premature now, but if we can try to figure out what's that next step once the plan is adopted, so that we don't get into a situation where we start thinking about that after the plan is adopted, and next thing you know, it's 2019, and we haven't moved on some of the, because I know we've talked about the having a public meeting as well, just to promote the commission, what we do, learn about our programs, get involved with the public art master plan. Perhaps that could be done in fall. I think there were some other things in terms of marketing, as well as the Beyond the Box program. We talked about, developing some type of label system so that community members know that this is the city of Glendale doing it, and it's an opportunity for the artists to get exposure as well, because maybe we can put their name on there, so it's not an anonymous box showing up in a community. But if we can kind of start thinking about how that could work, and if Barbara can come up with suggestions as well in terms of, the second half of this, which is the implementation, which is probably the harder part. I think we're starting to realize that'd be great. Yes, Cindy.
The thought on that is that once the plan is recommended or approved by the city council, then it would come back to the commission, and what you would work on is a work plan based on Barbara's recommendations, and she's going to incorporate that into the master plan in terms of what that step means. But it'll be similar to the process we've gone through before in terms of developing a work plan, but we're going to have the recommendations from the master plan, which will be fantastic.
Great, thank you. Any other additional
I
comments?
think that we are very secure, especially with the explanation that you had. It's very important, not only to have the master plan, but to procedurize the steps that follows after with the proper recommendation from an expert. It's an excellent idea. Well done.
Great, thank you all. Next item, please.
Item 6, commission staff comments.
Commissioner Shirkin.
As we all heard, yesterday there was a very tragic moment in Miami. And being a parent and also a community member, I feel I would like to suggest to take a moment of silence and just remember that tragedy, that 17 innocent souls that they were lost. And that can happen anywhere, anytime. And it's really sad, but as a commissioner and serving the community member, I feel like I would like to take the moment and recognize that their loss.
On a happier note, I try to make a comment not about the library. You know, we had guests from Europe and different states in Glendale, and we walked them through the streets, and I should say what we have done with the Central Library is phenomenal, because at night it looks so beautiful. During the day it's beautiful, but at night too, the lights and the whole thing, it has given such a light. It is like a lighthouse, kind of capturing people's attention, and visitors were really, really impressed with what has happened in that area. Thank you to the City of Glendale for doing all these different things, and also for Central Library for the way we are kind of welcoming the world with the building we have, with the renovation we have, with the lighting we have, with the programs and all ongoing, etc. So it is very impressive. It is really touchy. I know we have sad stories, and we have also things to kind of be grateful. So I would like to thank library and the city of Glendale for kind of the renovation they have done. They have done a fantastic job. It is wonderful for a library to be like a lighthouse in a city to kind of attract people's attention and bring them to the culture and to whatever it offers. So thank you.
Commissioner Vidor?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for indulging me here. I decided it would be a good time to have a little report on what's going on at the Brand Library with the school system. So, and you can, maybe someone could pass these to Cindy. But first I wanted to, there's always, fortunately, somebody to give a shout out to in Glendale. And last weekend, the Diggs Real Estate Company in Montrose, I don't know if any of you have been there, but it's a wonderful, really probably the coolest looking real estate office you could ever imagine. And they hosted another artist there, Dick Heimbold, who is also, I think, the president of the Glendale Arts Association. And they use their real estate office as a venue for art exhibitions. So kudos to them, Kendall Young, the owner of Diggs Real Estate, for really turning their business into an art venue. It's pretty cool. And now back to the report I wanted to give. For several months, maybe even a year, at the Brand Library, we, as well as, I'm a volunteer at the Brand Library, so I'm speaking as a volunteer there. We have been talking informally with members of the school district about hosting a high school art exhibition at the Brand Library. This was inspired by CSUN's high school invitational show that is now in its 21st year. Very big high school show sponsored by CSUN. And so we, and when I say we, I'm really not talking about a we, I'm talking about Kaylee Cannon, the supervisor of the library, and Shannon Curry Holmes, the gallery manager, and several people from GUSD have partnered to form kind of an ad hoc committee to move this forward. And the show itself, which we're calling now Young Artists Week, would be a week-long exhibition that would, it's proposed will take place April 1st to 2nd, 2019, because that seemed, in the opinion of the folks at Brand, like an open time that we could host the show in the gallery. It would be a curated exhibition and would give opportunities to very gifted artists in the high school system to exhibit their work. One of the things that Shannon wanted to do is include a field trip to the Brand where the selected young artists could learn how to mount the show, learn something about how to make statements, price their work, even do public outreach. So she indicated her willingness to be kind of a mentor from the perspective of a gallery manager. I mentioned the proposed date already, and that it is a curated show, educational opportunities, and of course there would be a public reception, so it would be a public event. So that was the idea behind this, and the committee that has come together here includes Kaylee, the supervisor of the library, Shannon, the gallery manager, and 5 representatives who are representing their constituency from each high school. Iranui Paranikian from Clark Magnet, Ricky Nagai, who we just met, from Crescenta Valley, Emily Goff from Daly, Sosa Kachaturian from Glendale High School, and Allison Stewart from Hoover. And I'm happy to say that some of us actually met each other on Co-Urbanize, and that's how they got involved. So Co-Urbanize has served as a very nice way of getting people in the community together. So that is in the works right now, and there's even some talk about, if it works out well and the show goes off well, to expand the age groups, the number of venues participating, include more types of art, and even eventually incorporate this Young Artists Week into an all Glendale Art Month that might be the basis for an Art Month festival. But at the Brand Group and the volunteers involved wanted to start with an art show at the Brand Library, including children from the public high schools, which could eventually be expanded. So I just wanted to share that with the commission because in the interest of disclosure that I'm involved in this as a brand volunteer, and I've talked to school board member Sahakian about it, and there's a lot of excitement about it. The next step is going to be that the GUSD committee members are going to report to their management at the upcoming VAPA meeting. That's the GUSD's Visual Arts Performance Arts Committee that meets on a regular basis. So there is communication up the chain there, and now there's a little bit broader communication here. So that's basically it.
Could I make a comment? Sure. Fantastic idea. I would like to thank Brand Associates, truly. I've been Glendale Unified School District for so many years. I continue to think for a lifetime. I'm a GUSD person. I'm very happy with what Brand Associates have tried to do. It's great. We have great art teachers. We can introduce art to the kids, but to connect them and kind of to give them a kind of an understanding of the world around that, what happens to the art as a next phase that you guys are doing is phenomenal. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. This is great. This is what young artists actually do need, and I do believe that we need to have more communication between GUSD and the city, which there is, but you know, with all the specific details, I cannot say how elated I am with what you guys are doing. It's phenomenal. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that exciting update, and thank you for all the commissioners and staff for your service. I had recently shared a quote from JFK that, you know, our children are the most valuable resource and it's best hope for the future, and I think with the tragedy this week, it was definitely a stark reminder of that and how precious those lives are. So our hearts go out to everybody in Parkland, and we'll adjourn the meeting in the memory of those lives lost, and I think we're ready for the next item.
Item 7, written communications.
None? Thank you. Next item.
Item 8 is adjournment.
Great. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.